With the various concepts of dowsing for geopathic stress. Recall the overall topic is geobiology, or life on Earth. And we're dealing with Earth energies. Some of them we can positively identify as coming from the Earth. We can locate the precise location of the lines. We can locate the direction they're flowing from or flowing to. And these are critical to the exercises we'll be going through in the afternoon. One of the key concepts is to look for the center line of each of these geopathic stress lines and to be able to identify that very accurately. Blocking the zones is done simply with the rods. Stones can be used, crystals, magnets, all sorts of different objects. Even plants can be used, placed in the home to divert energies. But we found that the metal rods, whether they're the commercially available welding rods or some scrap metal that you find, is completely adequate to block. And there's no magic in any type of dowsing rod. When I first started dowsing, of course, we attended a few classes, heard what other people had to say, and then set out to disprove everything we've heard. Some dowsers will say that you can't dowse if you have any metal on the body. No jewelry, no watches, no pocket knives, or no coins. And so I stuck a big magnet in my hip pocket and a couple of wrenches in the other pocket and went out and dowsed anyway. It's just all a matter of going and doing the job, really. And you can use rods, you can use a pendulum, you can use a bent stem of grass, or you can use your bare hands. Your choice is your choice. So there's no magic in the dowsing, it's merely paying attention. And oftentimes the ladies are more sensitive and the gentlemen are not quite as sensitive. I like to use the metal rods simply because it's a very visible demonstration. They show the direction, they show the location, and it's very accurate. You can get a line. The rods will open and stay exactly parallel to the center line. And for that reason, I like the metal rod. I can do the same thing by hand, just going along, feeling where the energy is, get a tingling, or it'll feel hot or cold, or in my case, my middle finger gets weakened and it'll just drop right over the line. So there's any number of different methods. Choose your own. And the main thing in any practice of dowsing is practice. Practice, practice, practice. So that's what our exercise will be this afternoon. I'll go through, I'll lay out a course. I'll identify the location, the direction of flow, pretend protecting a home or a place of business. And we'll locate all of the geopathic stress coming into the area we want to protect. So it'll just be a matter of paying attention, using your own senses, feeling your way through the course, and developing the skill of either using the rods or whatever method you choose. It's not difficult. Like most things, if it was difficult, it wouldn't have been done in the first place. Dowsing's been around for probably the last 10,000 years. It was used in Egypt, and Egypt is far older than the 4,000 years that they give credit for. The Zulu tribe has been using dowsing and identical tools to these for at least the last 3,000 years. I got this from Credo Mutwa, the old prophet down in Johannesburg. I visited him, I think it was 98, and he was delighted to receive a gift. He'd not seen these tools for a number of years, and explained to me that they've been used in the tribal rituals for many, many years for cleaning up battlefield energies and dissipating spirits of the dead, cleaning up the battlefield energies and removing them. And they use just the simplest copper tools. So we're recreating history in a sense and bringing it into a modern context using modern language. Very often you'll find in indigenous cultures, both in Europe and the States and elsewhere, that negative energies or geopathic stress lines are called spirits. You know, there's bad spirits over here, and either they get avoided or through some method of dowsing and placement of certain objects, why these spirits are dissipated. So in our culture, we just say it's negative energy, and Native Americans or Africans will say, oh, there's bad spirits in that place. Well, what's a spirit? Something you can't see. It's an etheric sense, an etheric energy. Very much like alcohol is called spirits. We can smell it, we can sense it, and it makes us a bit buzzy when we drink it. So it's called spirit, something we can't see. And it's no more mysterious than that. So we covered the subjects of geopathic stress in general, the Hartmann grid, geopathic zones, personal zones, and interference zones in some detail. The Hartmann grid is the product of electrical power generation, transformers, and electrical distribution. In proof of this, my partner Bill Reed and I were called to work in a chiropractor's office on the third floor of a building. And Bill had dowsed the place a month previously, and we'd gone back a month later to neutralize the geopathic stress. Well, as we arrived there, the electric power grid was out. The generator broken down in the city, small town, and so Bill starts dowsing down the hallway, and his rods would open, and I came along behind him to double check it. I couldn't find anything. Well, it turned out that Bill was finding where they had been, where he'd found them the previous month. So I come along behind him and I can't find it. And I said, well, I'm looking for where it is now, because I didn't know. and I wasn't willing to take his estimate on it. So it's the independence of thought, being very critical of your own senses, and very aware of whether energy is present or is not present. As an example, a good dowser can find where something was, where it previously existed, because it always leaves a trace of some form of energy. Plus the fact you're asking, where was it? And since the universe always answers yes, you'll get the answer, yes, it was here. So anyway, in this particular case, I went downstairs to see if I could find the geopathic lines at a lower level. And only when I got down on the ground level could I find them. Well, this proved that the electrical power grid amplifies, increases the field strength of geopathic stress. So we waited around about 45 minutes, power came back on, and then we could find out where they were, actually in the present moment. So this was a good exercise, and it was a good proof of the relationship between electrical power distribution and geopathic stress. If we look at the curve of electric power consumption historically, let's say we started in 1900, and there's very little power being distributed through the country. As time goes on, it goes up and goes up until at present it's almost a vertical rise. Parallel to this is the cancer rate, exactly parallel to electric power consumption. So geopathic stress and electric power are closely related. Not only the magnetic field of the power lines themselves, but their influence on geopathic stress. If we take the example that I just gave on the height of, say, this third floor building, and we say that this is a geopathic stress line coming up out of the earth and extending up to the third floor or the 40th floor. When the power is off, you'll only have a little bit of a wall of energy or geopathic stress zone. It'll be very small and very weak, detectable and present, but not as amplified or as strong as it would be under current electrical consumption. So that's a good concept to remember, and remember that the further out in the country you are, the further from major power lines, you have fewer problems. There's less of the geopathic stress. Usually the cancer rates are much lower out in the country. Not always, but usually. We've done dowsing in the remote regions of Venezuela, down in southern Venezuela near Angel Falls. Almost no geopathic stress whatever. And further down country there in that part of the world, absolutely no geopathic stress of any kind. We found that to be true also in the mountains of Colorado. Some of the more remote towns, remote areas, it's just almost totally devoid of geopathic stress. And you notice when you get out in the country how much quieter it is. You don't have this tension in your head or tension in the physical body. That's just a lowered region of geopathic stress. So we can modify it. We can change that condition. We can change the geopathic stress levels. And that's what we'll be doing this afternoon, and I'll be demonstrating through the morning. In the city, where there's electrical consumption, you'll have a high level of geopathic stress at, even on the top floor of the tallest buildings.
So you're better off living on the ground floor, or are
No,
you better off going
no,
up?
neither one.
Okay.
Neither one. Only further out in the country, you're less liable. And today, probably on this small island, the areas that do not have electric power, very, very few. Yeah, anywhere within a couple of 100 miles of a power station or electric transmission line, you'll have high levels of geopathic stress. So in this society, in our modern times, it's almost inescapable. So we all enjoy the benefits of it. We all like to have our lights at night and our electric toasters and ovens and dishwashers, our televisions. And so the remedy, of course, is to deal with the geopathic stress on an individual basis. And that's why we're teaching these classes, is to train more practitioners, bring more people up to the skill level required, so that I don't have to do all the work. There was a time when we first started, in the first year, that partner Bill Reed and I would be called to do as many as 10 homes a day. And we worked every day of the year, in all seasons, frozen ground, everything. We found a way to block the stress. I don't expect everyone to be that diligent, but in case you are, you can do it in any weather and in any condition. Geopathic stress, I want to indicate that there's a center line which I indicate in blue, extends below ground as well as above. This can go up as high as 60 to 30,000 feet. Depending on the particular type. Now, over fault zones, you'll find geopathic stress present at 30,000 feet. You can actually see it in the cloud patterns occasionally. We happen to live in an area where we knew exactly where the fault zones were present. And on several occasions, when we had a very high, thin cloud cover, we had a disturbance in the clouds, just a break in the pattern directly over the fault zone. So we knew the clouds were about 30,000 feet right at the bottom of the stratosphere. And the clairvoyants tell us that it'll range anywhere from 60 to 30,000. So we use clairvoyant vision a great deal to gain insight into just what we're looking at. I will occasionally have a fit of clairvoyance. I'm not normally clairvoyant, although I can see auras at will. I'm not good at it. I see colors, but I don't see a lot of detail. Okay, you got a center line. approximately an inch wide, just about that wide. And on either side of it, you'll have a zone of influence. There'll be a band on either side of that center line, which is not good to sleep in or spend any amount of time in. The medical profession, primarily the Hartmann brothers of Germany, who named that particular grid, found that sleeping in a zone like this, in a geopathic zone or a Hartmann grid line, that a person would get cancer after about 11 years, sleeping in the same bed in the same location night after night, 8 hours a night. That length of time was determined somewhere back in the 40s. Still not a high amount of electrical power. In more modern times, through the 70s and 80s and 90s, we found that as little as 3 years and a person would develop cancer sleeping in one of these geopathic zones. So this concept is what we're going to be dealing with today. Now, I can demonstrate this rather readily in that since I'm looking for only that 1 inch center line, as I come down the aisle here and encounter this geopathic line, it begins to open right back here, okay? See, so it's pressing into that zone, and right here, I'm right on the center line. Okay, I'm looking for where it was, because we blocked it here last night. So I found something that doesn't exist, but it did exist. Now, oftentimes when you're dowsing and looking for that 1 inch center line, your rods will begin to open very slowly as you approach this imaginary line back here. And you may walk several steps, 5 or 10 feet, before they fully open. And that just indicates the full width, and it will fade away again as you go past it.
Once blocked,
Pardon?
once blocked, does the effect dissipate over time, or is it immediate?
Once you block it, it's immediate.
Mm.
Yeah, there may be a moment where you can still detect it, you know, as that energy fades. Had an interesting experience on one job. We had a clairvoyant present, and I was outside blocking the lines, and he was standing in the house. And he said every time I blocked a line, it was like somebody was drawing a curtain aside. There was this gray energy that he could see. And as I blocked the line, it continued to move, you know, from that point, and became clear. In the mountainous regions, they call it the witch wind. And oftentimes people get ill during this hot, dry wind period. And it's also called the scirocco. Yeah.
Mistral.
Yeah, the Mistral. So this positive ion has a negative effect in most cases. We can even change that today, which has some bearing on hurricanes and tornadoes and other bad weather phenomena. But positive ions also created by the forced air conditioning, heating and cooling. This wind blowing metal tubing generates a lot of positive ions. And in the States, we have a condition known as sick building syndrome. And it's 99% due to positive ions from the air conditioning. We can modify that, first of all, by removing the geopathic stress, and secondly, by placing a harmonizer in the ductwork of the air conditioning system. Been very successful with that on several job sites. In the dowsing world, you'll find what's called distressed properties. Properties that will not stay rented, you can't keep tenants, businesses fail. The place starts running down, becomes dilapidated. Young couple gets married, beautiful relationship. Oh, we'll buy this old fixer-upper, we'll make lots of money and we'll have our little nest here and raise our kids. Well, the geopathic stress is the cause of the problem. And 6 months goes by, they're beginning to argue and fight. A year goes by and they're divorced. Okay, the house turns over, another young couple, beautiful pair, moves in, same thing happens. Until you go in and remedy the geopathic stress. Then they'll succeed. So, several factors there. We witnessed one property go through that transition, I don't know, 5 or 6 times over a period of a couple of years. And young couples would grab it, because it was real cheap. They get one wall painted and everything fell apart. And after we went in and neutralized the geopathics, why, the place got fixed up and a happy family developed. Okay, let's do a plan view of the average house. You've got a bedroom over here and bed located up against the wall. And the Hartman grid, as we have found, runs through the house from west to east. And from south to north. Okay, sleeping in this location, let's assume that our head is toward the wall. And right here where these lines cross is the most deleterious portion. And it will be exactly in that location on the body where the lines cross that a cancer will develop in a short time. Other conditions may precede it. There may be a weakness, there may be a dislocation. Very often scoliosis is produced by geopathic stress. 40, 50 years ago, we never heard of scoliosis. Very rare condition. Today, it's very common. Many other degenerative conditions will develop. Depending on the particular type of energy, the particular frequency in that location. And the frequencies can be generated by a power transformer, a local radio station, a local police broadcast, your television, any number of sources, all of them having different frequencies. Here you have the 50 cycle electric power. In the States we have 60 cycle. 60 cycle is probably the most deleterious. in terms of its frequency and the vibration it sets up in the Hartman grid and in the geopathic grid. Also in the States, they use the ground itself as the return conductor for the electric power. And I believe in most of Europe, they actually have a wire carrying the power back to the generator. And we just use a portion of it that cycles through. That's a much better state than the ground return, which is causing a lot of problems, particularly in agricultural communities. It's very hard on the livestock. Okay, as an example, we have a geopathic zone passing through the dining table here. Let's say that the couple sits opposite, they both sit in that line. Everything's just fine, you know, mom cooks or dad cooks, whichever it is. Everything's fine as long as they're moving around here. As soon as they sit down at the table, oh boy, they start arguing. I can think of at least 30 cases we've worked where one location in the house is the only place that an argument would take place. Just as soon as a person came in the room, stood in that location or sat there, they'd start arguing. Otherwise, they'd be quite sweet-tempered and pleasant. We had a case where a youngster always sat at the same location at the dining table, and invariably the child would throw a tantrum. So we moved his seat over a couple of feet outside the geopathic line. And no more problems. Just as simple as that. Another couple, wife would be in the kitchen, you know, tending to getting a meal on. The husband would come in, stand at the edge of the counter, and immediately start a tirade. Almost destroyed the relationship. And lo and behold, never another argument in that household. Absolutely amazing. For larger scale applications, it's well to have a good clairvoyant to locate the fault zones. Quite often, the seat of power, the government headquarters, will be located on or near a big fault zone. For whatever reason, whether it's accident or design, we don't know. The state capitol in Denver happened to be bracketed by 4 very, very nasty fault zones within a block or 2 of the State House. And we did a major clearing job there on Denver and blocked these fault zones, modified them way outside the city limits, you know, miles from the State House. Well, I can't say all the corruption disappeared, but many of the corrupt laws that were under consideration didn't pass. So we kind of took our credits where they were due and let the politicians have their day. But, you know, these are just examples. Now, on the Hartman grid, you only need to block it on the west side of the house and on the south side. Okay. Geopathic zones can run in any direction, from any direction. They can be at diagonals, they can be straight and parallel to the Hartman grid, or, you know, any combination thereof. And the the thing can look pretty complex, you know, when you look at it in this perspective. Blocking them as you move around the house. First thing we do is block the Hartman grid on the west and the south side. Then we come in and block only these geopathic zones moving into the house. So we block it here, block it here, block it here, block it here, block it here. And you do that on your second time around. Just block what's coming into the house and non-protect. Now, we'll go into what I call personal zones. The personal zones are frequencies that affect maybe only one person in the household. And you just ask for this. I want the personal zone for X, Y, or Z. Or you can say, I just want personal zones for everyone living in the house. And you get another pattern, something entirely different. And they'll move through in whatever pattern they exist in. Blocking is the same way. I'll come back a month later and start asking questions. Well, how are you feeling? How's your finances? How's your health? How's your relationships? A series of interrogatories. And slowly by slowly you begin to get a picture. Or maybe the person will volunteer something. Oh, my business depends on the telephone. I have a home business and my phone quit ringing 6 weeks ago and I haven't had any business. So you look for what's interfering with communication. And you'll go along here and you'll find a line going through, happens to intersect with the telephone. And you find another line going through that intersects with the telephone. And perhaps another going through. This happened to me. Well, I did. The phone quit ringing and I was out of business. Couldn't figure it out. After several days, I got scratching my head and I thought, well, something's interfering with my communications. I dowsed around the house, found half a dozen lines. All of them intersected right on the telephone. They'd suddenly become very successful, very self-contained, their health had improved, their mental outlook had improved. And somehow, this offended someone or threatened them because the person was more themselves. So wherever this party was had targeted the bedroom and apparently had just cross-hatched with a pencil on a piece of paper. And the occupant's life just simply fell apart. Couldn't figure it out. So after we dowsed around and I was looking for this particular interference, I didn't have any idea what it was. But as I began to find these lines, just negative energy I called it, as I began to find these lines I was actually mapping it. I had a little quick drawing on a piece of paper and I mapped these lines across and I got the sense that it was an an active interference in his life, actually witchcraft, that thought came to mind. And so I thought about this and I tore the little piece of paper out, I made the map on and lit a match to it, burned it. The problem's solved. Absolutely gone. And whoever this witch practitioner was never realized that the problem had been cured, because I'd also blocked the lines as I found them. And then when I removed the influence by burning the paper, it was as if the witch was blinded. They couldn't see past the blocks here. So that's a cute little trick you might have use of at some point.
Sorry, I've been busy taking notes. Did you draw the lines on a piece of paper?
Yes, I
Onto
did.
the bed and then you burned it?
I actually mapped it.
And that,
Mapped it exactly. Yeah. Very, very, very seldom will you find it. But when you do, you'll recognize it, because the lines will be very close together, and when you map it, it'll look like scribble. She never had another seizure. Absolutely stopped. She made quite rapid advancement from that point. Got off medication within about 3 years. Doctors take a while to figure things out. She was upgraded from severely mentally retarded to only mildly within 2 years. And within 4 years or 5 years, she was living on her own. So she made very rapid progress and developed into a charming young woman. Saved the family tens of thousands of medical bills. And it's been very, very, very rewarding. I mean, the satisfaction. I look back on some of these cases and I get tears in my eyes because of the benefit that's come to the clients. I mean, the relief of pain, relief of illness, chronic headache going away, epilepsy disappearing, cancer recoveries, any number of good stories and success stories. And I hope that each and every one of you can report the same kind of successes as you begin your work in this field. It's probably one of the most rewarding things you can do, helping out your family, friends, and neighbors.